good? We're on air? Alright, welcome everyone to our Monday night shiur. Our shiur is sponsored Leilu Nishmat Chana Bat Leah, our cameraman's grandmother. She was a tzaddiket. She was diagnosed with cancer. And the doctor didn't want to tell her that she had cancer. Didn't want to tell her. But she was a smart lady. She right away saw the notes. And over there it said that she had it. Look at the true, back in the day, what it was to have the Emunah Yehudit. Yiddish Mama, as they say. She said, what, this? Only Hashem. Hashem memit umechayeh. She didn't say it in Hebrew. I'm just putting that in to spice the story a bit. Hashem memit umechayeh. She lived till the age of 96 with cancer. No treatments. Till the age of 96, she saw her grandkids and her great-grandkids. She merited to live in Eretz Yisrael, pass away in Eretz Yisrael. She passed away on a Friday, close to Shabbat, and she was buried right before Shabbat, and she was saved from Chibut HaKever. And she lived in Siberia for some time. So may our Torah be in her zechut. Amen. May she go chayil chayil. May she bless her grandson. Bebracha v'atzlacha yishod gedolot. And also, I want to say, there's another sponsor for something else in our Seudah today. May Hashem bless him with bracha v'atzlacha, zivug agun be'ezrat Hashem, v'kol ha'yishod. Amen. Amen. Rabotai, our shiur, before I'm going to start a shiur, I got to put a disclaimer. Because you know, I'm very careful when I speak. Anybody who knows my shiurim, anybody who comes to my shiurim, I'm very careful to speak in a very clean way. I don't like to say dirty things. I don't like to, even though in the when you talk Torah, sometimes you have to say it. But I'm always very careful not to talk about these things. I like to stay away from it. And I always tell you guys in my shiur, when I was younger, much younger, when I started to give shiurim, I was very excited to talk about these things. You know, intimate things. What's not allowed. And today I look at myself and say how stupid I was to even think about these kind of things and talk about these kind of things. It's not something you should talk about in public. But, since in the spirit of SHOVAVIM, we're a week before SHOVAVIM, so we have to talk about it. Because, Rabotai, we're in the year 5781. Maximum. 219 years till Mashiach comes. As the Gemara says, Shita alfei shana ve'alma. 6,000 years will be the world. And we're in the year 5781. And we have 219 years left. That means, in these 219 years, Mashiach has to come. Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. They have to build the Beit HaMikdash. They have to fight Amalek. They have to gather all the exiles. They have to find the 10 tribes, the 10 lost tribes. They got to bring them back. Make shalom between everyone. Teach Torah again. All the minagim. Make everything beseder. When is he going to have time to do all of that? When is he going to have time to do all that? It's going to take time, Rabotai. When they came back during the second Beit HaMikdash, when they first came, when Ezra Sofer came with Zerubbabel, the first Zerubbabel came, Mordechai was one of the first Olim, then he came back to Paras. When he came, you know how long it took to build the Beit HaMikdash? 52 years. 52 years it took to build the Beit HaMikdash. In the middle was the Purim story. They built the Beit HaMikdash before the Purim story. Then they stopped in the middle. Then Haman came. And then Ezra came up. Takes time. And they had Nevi'im. Do we have Nevi'im in our days? We don't have Nevi'im. We need to bring back prophecy, as the Rambam says. And we see in this week's Parashat that Yaakov Avinu tries to say the kids. He tries to say the end of time to his children. And Rashi says, Nitalma mimenu haketz. The kids disappeared from him. He didn't have permission to say why. Why? As Bilam says, Ereu velo karov. It's in such a long time. If we would know when the ketz was back then, we wouldn't want it. We would be mityayesh from it. We would not want it. And the ketz, Rabotai, is talui in one thing. Gemara Masechet Nida. The Gemara Masechet Nida says, En ben David ba. Listen, all you single guys. The son of David will not come ad shichlu kol hanishamot shebaguf, until all the souls in the body will be gone. What souls and what body? The Gemara says a question. It's a beautiful question. Everybody listen very carefully. It's nogea to all of us, and not for us, then for our children, not for them, for their children. Rabotai, the Gemara asks a question. Hashem told Abraham Avinu, Geri yezaracha be'eretz lo lahem. V'inu otam, how many years? V'avadum, v'inu otam, how many years? How many years they were supposed to be in Mitzrayim?
210.
How many years were they supposed to be? 400 years. When they left Mitzrayim, they gave a date. What date did they give? 430 years. If we count the years actually, how many were they in there? 210 years. What happened to the other 190 years? What are they? This Goyim look at our Torah, they're like, oh, you guys say you never make a mistake. 430, 400, 210, they counting over. What's going on over here? You're giving a date, then you're changing to another date, and really it was only 210 years. How do we know? How do you know it's 210 years? How old was Moshe Rabbeinu's mother when they came down to Egypt?
Born.
She was just born. She was 0.
Right.
How old was she when she had Moshe? 130. How do we know she was 130? The Ari HaKadosh says she's the Gilgul of Chava. And how many years did Adam split from his wife? 130 years. And then she had Sheth, right? She had Sheth. And the Shin inside Moshe Rabbeinu's name is Sheth. He's the third son, and he's also the second son. Because the third son, Shet, is the Gilgul of Hevel. You understand? So Moshe, Shet, Hevel. Mem, Shin, Hey. Moshe, Shet, in our names are Gilgulim. If we just knew how to decipher the code, we would know who's the Gilgul from our own name. That's why Rabbi Meir Baal Haneh says in the Gemara, Badik Bishmeh. He would see a person's name, and he would know who he is. His real name is not even Rabbi Meir. His real name was Rabbi Nehorai, says the Gemara. But they called him Rabbi Meir because he would light up the eyes of the Chachamim. So in our names, the secret of our Gilgul, in our names, in the Gematria, for example, is the secret to our Tikkun. Some tzaddikim from people's names, they could tell their Tikkun, but some people, they're charlatans. What? They say your name, they go like this, couple of numbers they write over there, $210 please, $500 please. What is this? The game over here? What are you, the Ari HaKadosh? Even the Ari HaKadosh wouldn't do such a thing. Check the name, check the this, check the Baba, check the Buba, whatever they do. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the son of Yocheved. And how old was Moshe? And she was 130, correct? Because she was the Gilgul of Chava, and Amram was Adam. And how old was Moshe when he came down and take the Jews out of Egypt?
120.
How old was he? He was 120 when he passed away. And how many years was he in the desert? 40. So 120 minus 40, he was 80 years old. Gematria, what? Yesod.
210.
The Yesod. So how many years? 80 plus 130 is? 210 years. Exactly. 210 years when they left Egypt. What happened to the other 190 years? Where did it go?
Crying.
Did it disappear?
No.
Oh, they were crying?
Gerim.
How many times did we cry in this 1,953 year Galut? Not as much as it did then? Are you insane?
Not the same cry.
Just the last 80, 90 years in the ovens, you know how many people cried? You know it's 6 million? And some say it's more really, 6 to 7 million. Do you know how many Jews died during the Crusades? I teach Jewish history. You don't want to read what happened to the Jewish people in the Crusades. They used to come, these bloodthirsty, these goyim, these kritmachs, French, by the way, they were French. In the first crusade, they were French and German. They used to come to Jewish moshavim, Jewish communities. They used to wipe them off. They wouldn't leave a single soul. This is before, I'm talking during the Crusades, during the time of Rashi. They used to wipe them off till there wasn't a soul left. They used to bury them alive. They used to have fun with them. They used to bury them alive. Children. I once read a story. I have a book. It's called Shut Mima'am Makim. Sherot v'Shot Mima'am Makim. It's written over there, questions and answers of Jews in the Holocaust. Jews in the Holocaust. There was a big Rav, I forget his name. They asked him questions in the ghetto, in the Warsaw Ghetto. You guys know what the Warsaw Ghetto was, the first major ghetto. It was huge. And that was the beginning of the, rounding them up. You know how they started, by the way? I'm not trying to make any conspiracy theories. Health crisis. That's how they started. It was a health crisis, health crisis. They got them all in there, typhus, schmyphus, whatever the case was. In one of the stories over there, they didn't let mohels. There was no mohel. Because they used to kill them slowly by slow. They used to take them, they wouldn't know. One day they wake up, this block is gone. Next day they wake up, this block is gone. They used to take them slowly. They wouldn't say. They used to say there was no Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They used to say there was a rumor, concentration camps, gas chambers. So they used to say, you're saying nonsense. It's a health scare. The Germans, they want us. It's needed. It's a needed thing. They didn't know what was going outside even. One time, one lady gave her son a brit milah. There was no mohel. Halacha is, if nobody's there to give a brit milah, what do? The woman is mutar to give her son a brit milah. Yeah, like Moshe, like Tzipor. Very beautiful. So who gave Moshe Rabbeinu's son a brit milah? Tzipora Eshet Moshe. So what happened? One German found out about it. It was in the hospital. Listen to this. Listen to this, guys. An 8-day-old baby. Look what kind of bloodthirsty people they were. An 8-day-old baby, a German took his head and crushed it with his hands. I'm not making up the story. It's written in the book, Shut Mima'am Hakim. And the mother, look how strong they were. Asked the rabbi, should I sit on him Shiva? She asked him this question. It's recorded down, this question. The mother asked, look kind of Kedoshim were Am Yisrael. She asked the rabbi, should we sit on him Shiva? Another crazy story is written over there. You guys all for sure know the story. They used to round up kids under the age of 13 and they were a certain height. They used to kill them off because there was no need for them. If you were strong and you were a worker, they would keep you alive. So the Germans, Yamach Shema, made a bar. Any kid would reach the bar, he would stay alive. Any kid. So there was a one father, he was able to pay off to get his kid saved. He was 13, but he was shorter. Then the Germans saw that there was a number discrepancy, so they said, whoever is not going to give up the spot over here, we're going to kill another bunch. So the father went to ask the rabbi, it's a true story, I think his real name was Rabbi Meisel. He asked him, can I give up my son to save other children? The rabbi is writing this Shelot V'Tshuva over there. He's crying over there. He's saying, I don't know what to answer him. He says, do I look like a Sanhedrin? Do I look like a tribunal of 71 great sages? In them were Nevi'im? Can I answer such a question of Dinei Nefashot? He didn't know what to say. It was Rosh Hashanah and the father gave up his son. And he said to in the middle of Rosh Hashanah it was, he cried and he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avraham almost brought up his son as a korban. Almost brought his son to korban. I brought my son as a korban. These were the things. And you said they didn't cry enough. You said they didn't cry in 210 years. Do you know what the Jewish people went through in the Spanish Inquisition? Do you know what what's going on over there? Do you know what the Jews went on in Bukhara, in Persia, in Georgia? You know what kind of they used to steal Jewish women, steal them. You know how many people out there in the world are Jewish and they don't know that they're Jewish? Chas v'shalom. You know how many in the Arab villages there are Jewish girls over there? You know how many? Thousands, Rabotai. Thousands. It's an epidemic in Israel. An epidemic. I don't want to say pandemic because then we're going to wake up conspiracy theories. So you tell me, Ariel, did we cry enough? Do I think we cried a lot? We cried more than enough. Not to mention second Beit HaMikdash, first Beit HaMikdash. Not to mention all the things that our forefathers gave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all their mitzvot, ma'asim tovim. I think we in this generation not only are worthy for Geula Berachamim, we're worthy for Geula Berachamim right now. Because if we could have in this generation no prophets, no Gedolim that we could have a connection with. You know what it is to get into a Gadol Ador today? You have to go through lines and this. And how many you have already? 1, 2, Echad Ba'ir, Shtayim B'mishpacha. What do you have already? No Nevi'im, no Sanhedrin, no Gedolei Olam, no nothing. But you still have in this generation the most Shomrei Shabbat that we've had since the second Beit HaMikdash. Did you know that? In our generation, you have more Shomrei Shabbat than you had ever in the world. You have more people learning Torah today. You know, Rabbi Akiva had how many students in his yeshiva? 24,000, right? Some say it was 24,000 pairs. It was really 48,000. Let's go with 48,000 he had. Rabotai, in Lakewood Yeshiva alone, you have more students than that. In Lakewood Yeshiva alone. In the Mir Yeshiva, and all the yeshivot, you know how much Torah there is being learned today? You know how much Gemilut Chesed there is today? Every other person has a gemach. Gemach for diapers, gemach for this, gemach for food, gemach for this. And the Jewish people, we want to help each other out. Yeah, we have differences. Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Bukharim, Morakim. We have all of our differences. But deep down, how much we love each other in this generation. There hasn't been this much love since the first Beit HaMikdash. Yeah. Since the first, and I'm telling you this as a person who studies history. I'm not making stuff up. You don't say I want to be some Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Mibarditch or I want to make Kav Zechut for Klal Yisrael. I don't need to do that. There's enough Kav Zechut in Klal Yisrael. There's enough. How many Jews were killed in Morocco? The Baba Sali's brother, Hashem should rest his soul in peace. The Baba Sali's brother was killed on Kiddush Hashem in the city Tefilalet in front of all the Moroccans, the Goyim away, the Arab, the bloodthirsty Arab. They slaughtered him for nothing. They said one Jew has to go kapara. How many Goyim in Russia used to say on us that we rule the world, protocols of the elders of Zion? Till today they believe in it. Till today they believe in it. Some places in America, a Jew walks in, chas v'shalom, he's sakana nefashot. Forest Hills High School is one of them. Where are they? Yes, some places they walk inside, it's a sakana nefashot to walk in there with a kippah, tzitzit. I work in a school. I had to pick up regents once. So they said, you're going to go, your history teacher, go pick up the regents. I said, where am I going? Forest Hills High School. I'm not doing sakana nefashot. I'm not going in there. You go in. You don't pay me enough for that. Get out of here. You pick it up yourself. Anyways, what do we get into over here? So I think we cry. So at the end of the day, crying is not the answer. Crying is not the answer. What's the reason? The real reason, says the Tana Dabe Eliyahu, that the Jewish people left out 190 years early. Vayifru, vayirbu, me'od. The answer is in this week's parasha. They were fruitful, they multiplied, and had lots of children.
They didn't change their names.
That you could say between Mincha and Aravit. We want real pshats over here. They didn't change their names. Shkoyach. Rabotai, they had a lot of children. Ribui ha'uchlusiyah. Every woman gave birth to 6 children. And one woman gave birth, says the Midrash. Let's see if you guys could know who it's talking about. To 600,000 children.
Moshe Rabbeinu is what mom?
Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had all 600,000 neshamot inside of him. Ribui ha'uchlusiyah. He was 600,000 neshamot. When he was born, that's when the Gzerot stopped, by the way. That's when the Gzerot stopped. Paro put all of his power to kill the Mashiach. He was the Mashiach of his generation. I told you guys this many times in my shiurim. Moshe Rabbeinu is the first Goel, and Moshe Rabbeinu is how do we know? This week's parasha. Yaakov blesses Yehuda. He says, At ki yavo, Shiloh. Shiloh, Shin Yud is 310. Lamed 30. 310 plus 30 is how much? 340. Hey, 345. Moshe. Mem is how much? 40. 300. Shin. Hey, 345. At ki yavo Shiloh. At ki yavo Moshe. Moshe is the first Goel. Moshe is the last Goel. Moshe Rabbeinu has to fix his tikkun. What's his tikkun? To take the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael. He has to reach the 50th gate of prophecy. There's 50 gates of Binah. 50 gates. Moshe reached how many gates? 49. He's supposed to reach the 50th gate. Nun Sha'arei Binah he's supposed to reach. And when is he going to reach that? Maybe today. If we play our cards right. Remember, the Eliyahu Navi says, all we need is 10 men. 10 men who love each other, who work for each other, have ahavat chinam, true ahavat chinam. And you know, guys, it's not easy. Ari HaKadosh, in our shul, we speak Ari HaKadosh. You're not going to find that in many places. In the Ari HaKadosh, he had 12 students. 12 students he had. He didn't want them to tell you the truth. He only wanted one student, Rabbi Chaim Vital. That's all he wanted. What happened? Rabbi Chaim Vital says, no, bring in more, bring in more. He caused the death of his own Rebbe. He writes that himself. I'm not saying that word. He writes that I caused the death of my Rebbe. So he brings in these students. The Ari says, now that you guys are already here, all of you come together, move from your house. We're all going to buy one, in Bukhari we say, machaleh. One courtyard. You live over here, you live over here, you live over here. I'm going to live with you guys. We're all going to be one community. One community. Why? We need 10 men to be ahavat chinam, to bring Mashiach. You know that story they say, Ari HaKadosh said to his students, let's go to Yerushalayim. It was Erev Shabbat. And one said, let me ask my wife. One said this, one said that. When I ask your wife, avar zmano, v'tel korbano. That's a story they say. They say this story. I'm telling you a story from the Shara Gilgulim Atzmo, the handwritten of Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Chaim Vital says it was Erev Shabbat. Erev Shabbat, the Satan is dancing. The Satan dances when? On Erev Shabbat. Because Erev Shabbat is the 6th millennium. It's our millennium right now. It's right before Shabbat, Olam Haba. That's when the Satan is working the hardest. That's when he's working the hardest to destroy the Am Yisrael. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rabotai. The Yetzar doesn't let us breathe. The Yetzar doesn't let us breathe Kedusha. Doesn't let us breathe. You know how much time they used to have back in the day? Take out the Twitter from your life, the Instagram, the Facebook, the thing. You're going to see you have 8 hours free during the day. The average man spends on social media and on his phone every day 6 to 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours. I know kids 12 hours on their phone. 12!
Do they sleep?
They don't need to. The phone itself makes them into a zombie. If you would take that all away, you know what kind of Talmid Chacham you would be? Imagine you learn 8 hours of Torah a day. I don't care. Rav Ovadia, Rambam, the Ari of Chaim. You're going to be the Gedol Ador. You know what 8 hours of Torah a day is? You know what 8 hours of Torah a day is? That's like the Rambam. That's what the Rambam said you have to do, by the way. You got to split your day into 3. 8 hours sleep, 8 hour work, 8 hours of Torah. So the Ari HaKadosh tells his students, let's all get together, bring the Mashiach. By being Ahavat Chinam. Now, Ahavat Chinam, don't you think we're all going to hold hands, sing the Kumbaya right now, put a torch, sing a Kumzitz, and we're all going to bring Mashiach like that? First, there has to be a test. You hear me? There has to be a test. There has to be anger. Because Kol Mi Sheko'es Ki'ilu Oved Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah. So first there has to be a test. And how does Hashem start the test? Etz Hadat started with who? With who? Eve, Chava. So too over here again, the test starts with the woman. My shiurim are not popular with women, I hear. That day, it was Erev Shabbat, one lady got into a fight with another lady inside the Ari HaKadosh's students. Rabotai, Gurei Ha'ari. You know what Gurei Ha'ari means? The lion cubs. They get into a fight, they drag their husbands into the fight. First the husband plays Rosh Katan. Leave me alone. You want to fight with her? You fight, it's your proud. But the wife has a special Binah Yetera, but they don't use it for the good. They use the Binah Yetera to do good under the skin, 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 until understood it. The Ari HaKadosh says, prepare me the clothes for the shrouds, for the Kvura. Very soon I'm not going to live. That Erev Shabbat, that was the 4th of Av. Saturday night, he got sick. It was the 5th of Av. Right away he died. He died 5th of Av. And before he died, he said to his students, because you guys didn't have Ahavat Hinam, Ba'avon Sinat Hinam Nichrav Abai, and the Ari HaKadosh hinted about himself that he was Mashiach ben Yosef. And after he passed away, where did that soul go to? It's a soul. It's not a human being. It's a soul, guys. It's called the Yichidah, the singularity soul. That soul went to his student Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Chaim Vital, one day he made a kifitzat haderech to Damascus. He went to Chutz La'aretz. The Ari says because you went to Chutz La'aretz, you're supposed to live in Yerushalayim. There was a big guy over there called Abu Sifin. That's Arabic for the double sword. He was the Gilgul of Sanheriv. He told Rabbi Chaim Vital, open up the river Gihon. The Goyim believe in our Tanakh. Look at this. Because Chizkiyahu HaMelech was the one who closed the Megichon, and the Chachamim weren't happy what they did. So he told her, look at this from the Shorshet Neshamot. He tells Rabbi Chaim Vital, you open it up, because he was a Gilgul of Chizkiyahu HaMelech. What did Rabbi Chaim Vital do? Kifitzat Haderech, he ran away to Damascus. The Ari comes to him in the dream and says, you fool. You should have, I shouldn't have said that, but he says, you should have opened up the river, because when you closed it in the last Gilgul, you didn't do the right thing. You would have fixed it this time. He says, I'm going to go back and open it. Ari says, stop. Too late. Too late. You see, in Judaism, there's something called too late. Kids in school don't understand that. There's something called today a retake. When I was in school, we didn't have retakes. Today there's a retake. There's a makeup. There's a second in the Torah. There's something called me'uvat. Lo yachol litkon, v'chisaron lo yuchal leimanot. There are things in the Torah that you can never make up. You miss shacharit, you can never make up that shacharit. It's never going to come back. You missed mincha, you're never going to make it again. You missed aravit, that double tefillah that you make, that's not a makeup. That's not a makeup. That's a knas. That's an extra mitzvah that you have to do, but it doesn't make up what you missed. And that power that you missed, you'll never get that back. You're never going to get it back. That's what he said to Rabbi Chaim Vital. And Rabbi Chaim Vital was in Damascus till his last day of his life. He had an enemy. They used to fight with him all the time. Who was that enemy? Guess who it was? Rosh Avod Beit Din of Damascus. The head of the Beit Din, the biggest Talmudic scholar in Damascus, was his enemy.
Why was he fighting?
That's the thing. Rabbi Chaim Vital didn't fight back. Because the Ari HaKadosh kept on coming to him in a dream and telling him, Rabbi Chaim Vital, you're supposed to bring the Geulah. You're supposed to bring the Geulah. You're supposed to bring the Geulah. So what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? He tells his Rebbe. His Rebbe tells him, I'm not making this up, it's written in Sefer HaChazyonot. It says over there, get up, start giving drashot. Start giving speeches. Bring the Am L'Tshuva. Bring it L'Tshuva. He started to do it. Then the Av Beit Din of Damascus said about him, don't listen to him, he's a kook, he's a mikubal. He's a crazy kook. Av Beit Din of Damascus. I can't say his name, I know his name, because in the book they censor his name out. But I searched and I searched and I searched till I found his name and I couldn't believe it. That's who it was. And they went against him. And you know what they said? In Reb Chaim Vital's generation, there was a lady, a girl. Her name was Esther Bat Rafael Anav. She had a nitzot of Esther Amalka in her. And inside of her came a nishama of a tzaddik and started to speak from her mouth. Reb Chaim Vital records this whole story in Sefer HaChazyonot. And he writes over there that the soul told Reb Chaim Vital, I want to speak to you, tell you something in your Rebbe's name. I'm telling you the whole story in short. In short, I'm telling you the story. This is in Damascus. The year is 15, Tafshin Lamed. This is about 500 years ago, this story. In Damascus, Rav Chaim Vital didn't want to come. He didn't want to come listen to the Nishama. He said, I'm not going. Who came to see the Nishama? That Av Beit Din. I'm not going to say his name. It was the Av Beit Din. He came. The soul tells the Av Beit Din, you're coming to see me. I was a tzaddik. You think I'm over here because they're punishing me? I came here to do a message because of one tikkun I didn't do in my life. So the rabbi tells him, the Av Beit Din tells the soul, tell me something about me. He says, you, Rasha, get out of my face. And he's speaking through the voice of a little girl. Bat Rafael Anav, get out, I don't want to see you. He leaves the house, one tear comes out of his eye. Rav Chaim Vital records this. And he says, the soul says, bring him back in. Because one tear came out, it was enough in Shamayim that he could come back in. Rabotai, even the smallest tear that comes out of your eyes makes the biggest rash b'Shamayim. Rav Chaim Mivolozhin was once passing in Vilna and he saw one soldier, Jewish soldier, cantonist. They used to be taken by the Russians from 20 years in the army. He was crying on Chorban Beit HaMikdash in the middle of the night. Rav Chaim Mivolozhin says, I promise you, in this place where he was doing Tikkun Hatzot, a yeshiva will be built. And that was one of the most famous yeshivot in Vilna. That was the famous yeshiva because the one person was doing tikkun chatzot in that spot. I'm not making this. You know this whole story is written. Aleinu l'shabeach of Zilberstein. It's written down this story. So Rav Chaim Vital in his time, this Av Beit Din comes and he says he cried what he's come back. Then he tells him, you think you're an Av Beit Din? What, you know halachot? I want to ask you a question. He tells the Av Beit Din, look how they look at your neshama and shamayim. He says, why do we celebrate Sukkot? They tell him, why do we celebrate Sukkot? So he says, what do you mean why we celebrate Sukkot? It says in the Torah, Kiba Sukkot, Hoshafti et Bnei Yisrael, V'otzi otam eretz Mitzrayim. So the soul starts to laugh at that Av Beit Din. He says, you're telling me the reason where they tell third graders, this is where your Torah led you? This is where your Torah led you. They tell third graders this reason. You still don't know the secrets of the Torah. Go to Rav Chaim Vital, who you're against him, and you break him, and you cause him not to bring the Am L'Tshuva. You call him a kook, crazy mikubal, you call him. You go to him and ask him, what's the reason why we celebrate Sukkot? So he tells him, what should I do? The people won't listen. I gotta, take care of the rich people. Because you call yourself a dayan, when they come to your court, you know that they're lying. And you still make them swear in Hashem's name, and you still let it happen. You call yourself a dayan. And he says, your son does averot with goyot. It says the names of the people inside the story, the names. And he says, you're scared. He says, I know, you know yourself when you were a kid, you did the same thing. Why are you going crazy? He says, in your time, over there, and he writes the names in the Sefer HaChazyonot. This guy is with a man. This guy does shtuyot. This guy was with a man and married that guy. This guy did this. So much shtuyot over there written on. If you're going to read that book, you're not going to sleep. You think Masechet Gehinom is tough? That story is not going to make you sleep for a week. What was going on back in then? He says, the woman, he says, all of them, they walk outside showing their bodies to men, making them do averot, putting nice smelling things, this, that. This is not my word, it's written in Sefer HaChazyonot. That's what the soul told of that Av Beit Din. And you know the Av Beit Din, did he change, you guys think? Do you think he changed?
No.
He didn't change. After the soul left, like Paro, it says by Paro, he hardened his heart, he hardened, his stiff-necked he became, left Paro, he hardened his heart, and he made a cherem on Rav Chaim Vital. He put why? All those people's names, he was afraid it would get out to the public. So he made a cherem on everybody over there, including Rav Chaim Vital. It still came out. And it's written for the end of generations inside this sefer. Rabotai, Ikar is the Yirat Shamayim. I told you what it says in the Perkei Avot. Snai Rabbanut. Hate the Rabbanut. Hate to be in a position of power. Don't ever want to be in a position of power. Be a Pashtan. Be a regular guy. Those regular people will bring Mashiach. How do you know this, Abraham? 70 men came down to Egypt. What kind of 70 men? You know who these 70 men were? 70 giants. Og Melech HaBashan didn't even reach the soles of their feet. These people were Shorshen Nishamot. And how many men came out of Egypt? 600,000 men, 600,000 sparks. 70 went down, but 600,000 small guys went up. To get up, we need the small. We're those 600,000 men. We're them. We're going to pick those nishamot up. We're that generation that will bring that up. I told you guys what the Ramban says once. Umatayim lenotrim et pirio. 200 will hold the pri. What pri? The pri of Yemot HaMashiach. We're in 219 years. Another 19 years. That's the Ramban's calculation. Matayim lenotrim et pirio, Rabotai. And who else says this calculation? The Ramak. Rav Moshe Cordovero brings his calculations. The year is going to be tough, he says. We're tough Shin Pei Aleph. Tough is another 19 years. He was Shnei Nevi'im mitnabi'im b'signon echad. Two Nevi'im have the same prophecy. Ramban and the Ramak. Both of them lived in Spain. One was in Aragon, one was in Cordovero. Two of them had the same Nevuah, Rabotai. It's up to our generation to wake up those last nitzot. Wherever you're going to be, doesn't matter. You have the power, Rabotai, to wake up all those. But the most important thing, En ben David ba ad sheyichlu kol hanishamot shebaguf. You have to bring children. You have to get married. The ikara tikkun is to be married and to bring children and to raise your children. That's the ikara tikkun. That's why we were brought into this world. We didn't come to this world to enjoy. We didn't come to enjoy. That's our problem. It's not all vacations. You know what Rabbi Victor Miller says? Maybe it's too tough for you guys, but I'll say it anyway. Victor Miller says, you want a vacation? Go take a stroll around the block. Those are his words. Not Sfaradi. Not it's Ashkenazi. He says, you want a vacation? Take a stroll around the block, he says. Vacation is for losers. Tzadikim ein lahem menucha. Lo ba'olam hazeh ולא בעולם הבא, שנאמר, וילכו מחיל אל חיל, יראה אל אלוהים בציון. You want to go to Zion? I was reading over here. I didn't even get to the Sefer HaCharidim. We said we were going to speak about Sefer HaCharidim, but I got so excited about the Parashat, I couldn't help myself, Rabotai. This Parashat screams Geula. It speaks Geula, Rabotai. We need Geula. We have to see it. We have to see it. Right now, Eretz Yisrael is in the hand of the Erev Rav. Look what they're doing to Am Yisrael over there. Closure after closure after closure. That's exactly what the Gemara says. En ben David ba'at shichlu kol ha'prutot shebakis. What is this? Destroying over here. At least you get a stimulus check. At least you're getting a stimulus check. But over there, they get gurnish. And so much sfekot, Rabotai. Take the vaccine. Don't take the vaccine. Do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. What's all this safek? Safek, gematria, Amalek. All this is Amalek. The Gemara says, there is no happier day in a person's life Keyom hatarat asfekot. When a person gets his safek answered, that's a Yom Tov for him. It's a Yom Tov for him, Rabotai. So now, what is it saying this week's parasha? What does it have to do with this week's parasha, Rabotai? Listen to this. Yaakov Avinu, he's called Yisrael. We're called after him, Yisrael. Listen, Rabotai, it's beautiful pshat. I saw this in the book Avat Hayim. It says in the book, it says over there, it says Yaakov Avinu says to Yisrael, says to Yosef, come. Your father is sick. He says to him, swear to me. Swear. Take your hands, put it in the brit. Belashon Nikiya, like Abraham did to Eliezer. Swear to me, you're taking me up to Eretz Yisrael, to bury me next to my father and his grandfather, and next to Adam Arishon, and next to my wife Leah. Swear to me. He's the fourth. It's in this parasha. And he says, swear to me. So the Mepharshim asks a question. What was he so scared of? Rashi answers the question. Who could go even one step away from Rashi? Even one step. You have to breathe and live Rashi all your life. Rashi says he was afraid of two things. Number one, he was afraid of Gilgul Mehilot. When Mashiach comes, the bodies have to roll all the way in Tchiyat HaMetim. The 400 have to roll all the way to Eretz Yisrael. You know how much that hurts? The Neshama rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. But how far is Mitzrayim to Eretz Yisrael? They're neighbors. He was still afraid he would have to roll. Number one. Number two, all the earth is going to turn into lice. Lice. The earth itself turned into lice. He didn't want the earth that he was in to turn into lice, even though he knew Beruch Kodsho that where Am Yisrael is, it's not going to be lice. It's not going to be lice over there. That's why Hashem made it. Yosef will be put in where? The Nile River. Because the Nile is the water. The water didn't turn into the lice. So the question is like this. Yaakov Avinu lived how many years? 147. How many of those years he lived nice?
17.
Let's call it nice. 17. How many years did he suffer? What's the left? 130. Those 130 years. It says over there, when they sold Yosef, when they sold him, Yaakov Avinu says, Alai hayu kolana. When Shimon was put in jail, Alai hayu kolana. Alai is, Ayin is what? Esav. Lamed is what? Lavan. Yud is Yosef. 3 tragedies in his life, 3 bombs. 130 years of 7. Those were the 130 years that Yaakov Avinu, that Adam HaRishon was separated from his wife, and he wasn't supposed to be separated from his wife. And during those 130 years came out of him the Zerah. I'm saying this Bilashon Nikiyah. It came out of him, and those Zraim came back as who? Dora Mabul. And Dora Mabul came back as who? Dora Pelaga. And Dora Pelaga came back as Dor Sedom, Dor Mitzrayim, and voila, here we are today.
Hello.
Those are us. Says the Ari HaKadosh. That's the Ari HaKadosh. So I want to ask you guys a question. Yaakov Avinu, Behir Sheba'avot, listen to this, suffered for 130 years. We suffer for 1 hour over here, and our hands are going like this. Hashem, why you do this to me? Hashem, why you do this to me? So there's no Hashem, there's no this, there's no that. He suffered. Yaakov Avinu, his brother, was coming for blood. With 400 men. The poor guy was walking with little children, 4 wives, and a couple of sheep. And he was coming with 400 men. 400 men. The Midrash says 400 generals, with 400 sergeants, with 400 lieutenants, with 400 mini generals. Karachi was Gog Magog. He was coming for him. That's what it says in the Midrash. And you're telling me, because of 17 years, because 130 years, Rabotai, let's pay attention. He suffered for 130 years. He was afraid that he's going to be in the Gilgul Mechilot and Kinim. He was afraid of that. How can he be afraid of such a thing? So many years of his life he suffered. That suffering is mizachech. On the other hand, Abraham, we see Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, not only when he passed away, he said, don't sit on me Shiva. He said, on my day of my passing, make a party. I don't get it. One of them is happy. He's the Av. He's the Tana. And one of them, he's worried. He's the Avot. You know what the Avat Chaim says? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai suffered his whole life. His whole life was one whole tragedy. Yaakov Avinu, for those 17 years, he was afraid. Because even a tzaddik, he knows that he, in this world, you're not supposed to enjoy over here. Over here is like the Ramchal says, the Achsad, that he's supposed to work over here. You're going to answer for that. He's going to answer for that, he says. For that, he was scared. Rabotai, we came down to this world to work. Every free time you have, Rabotai, learn Torah. Learn Torah. Don't watch the news. It's the same nonsense all over again. Don't watch any movie. All this is shtuyot, Rabotai. Just learn Torah. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to say you real quick over here. It says in the Sefer HaCharedim. Look what the Sefer HaCharedim says. It says over here. The Sefer HaCharedim says over here in Reish Ayin Hey. It says over here 6 sigulot for teshuvah. You know, sometimes our hearts are so hardened that we can't do teshuvah. Our hearts are hardened. It's hardened, Rabotai. We can't break it. We need to do teshuvah, but we cannot. You know what I mean? Like you come. Could you imagine you come to speak in front of Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You bring Shemoneh Esrei. Where's your head? In Hawaii, in vacation, in Kesef, in this. You're not over there. You're not working for the Torah. So the Sefer HaCharedim brings down 6 segulot. 6. I'm going to read them to you guys fast to break your heart, to open it for teshuvah, and your tears will gonna come streaming down your face. Let's do this. All right. I like the enthusiasm, by the way. First segula. Matzanu leraboteinu zal. Kol mi she'oneh amen yehi shmei rabba bechol kocho. Afilu haya bo shemetz minut mochalin lo. Even if you did avodah zarah or you didn't believe in Hashem, if you say yehi shmei rabba bechol kocho, mochalin lo. Wait. What does that mean, mochalin lo? Rabotai, the Gemara says Masechet Brachot, even if they put on you 70 years of bad decrees. 70 years of bad decrees. If you say Yesh Me'ara B'chol Kocho, Mochalin Lo. Question is, what's B'chol Kocho? You see, yeah, Yesh Me'ara. That's nice. That's nice. Rashi says, don't move from Rashi. You have to have the right kavanah. You have to have the right kavanah. You gotta learn the kavanot, Rabotai. Yes, you should learn the Ari HaKadosh. Yes, you should learn the Rashash. For 1,900 years, they've been telling us not to learn these things. And I'm telling you, we must learn these things. It's come the time to learn these things. We have to learn these things. We must learn these things. Why? If we would have learned these things, a long time ago, the Galut would have ended. Long time ago. These things open up the neshama. It opens up the neshama. It opens it up. I'll tell you the words of Yitzhak Kaduri. Funny thing is, somebody today just asked me this question. One guy was telling me, Rabbi, what should I do? What should I do? I need a sigula. I said, leave me alone. I told him, leave me alone. I don't know sigulot. I don't know this. I say my shiurim here and there. I throw a bone. But I myself, what sigula you want? We came to this world to work. Hashem throws you something. You got to deal with it. So I told him like this. I said, there is one limud that takes away all the chitzonim. Takes away all the chitzonim, all the sitra achra, runs away when you learn this. What is this limud? It says, why do we say he lachma aniya in Aramaic? Why do we say kaddish in Aramaic? Why? Because why can't they touch it? Why can't he touch it? Why can't he touch it? It's Aramaic. It's not Hebrew. Hebrew is Lashon HaKodesh. Am I right or wrong? They don't understand Aramaic? Just the opposite. Because they understand Aramaic and they know what you're saying, when they see the Kiddusha and they hear it, they run away. Out of all the limudim, Rabotai, Pshat, Remez, Drash, Vesod, what's the only one that was written in Aramaic? Two learnings. Zohar and Gemara. Zohar and Gemara. Rabotai, every day, 1 page of Gemara a day keeps the doctor away. One page, that's what they said. I'm not making this up. I'm not in Sefer HaChezionot, but that's what they say. 1 page a day keeps the doctor away. I tell you what, when I have a set of learning. I'm a history teacher. Baruch Hashem. It's not a lucrative job, but I will call it satisfying in a way. So when I come home, then I have a little school at home going on, right? I got 2 schools. Wake up in the morning. There's no end, basically. The work keeps on going. Baruch Hashem, that's what we were here for. So sometimes I have in my day where I could only learn one thing. I don't have time. I don't have the Yeshuva Dat. To learn, you need Yeshuva Dat. The Gemara in Eruvin says that Abaye wouldn't learn in a day where his stepmother, his nurse really, would ask him to do a favor that day. His mind would be so preoccupied where the woman who raised me, because he was an orphan, asked me to do something, it would eat at his head so much he couldn't learn Torah that day. Rav Nachman, if I'm not mistaken, wouldn't learn in a day where the northern wind or something would blow. Because he was a very sensitive person, and that wind would get him he couldn't learn Torah that day. Look kind of kav zechut you give to Am Yisrael in our generation. So when you come home and there's so much going on in your life, Baruch Hashem, sometimes you don't have the Yeshuva Dat. That's why if you pay attention, when I go up to the Torah, the rabbi blesses me all the time. She's scared, you have to learn Yeshuva Dat. You need Yeshuva Dat to learn Torah. Your mind has to be, you're not just reading a newspaper, Chas v'Shalom. You're learning Torah, your mind has to be in it. You want to learn, you want to be in it to win it. So if I don't have a chance but to learn one thing that day, one thing, what do you think would be the most important thing to learn? You would say learn halachot, easy to understand, straight to the point, and you gain something from it. Learn Zohar, learn Kabbalah, Baruch Hashem, Hashem Zikanu, learn Mishnayot, cleans the Nishama, learn Chumash. No. Daf of Gemara with Rashi. That's it. You need to learn half a line, 2 lines, something. Start somewhere. You need to learn, and it's beginning. It's hard. Why? The Ari HaKadosh writes in Sha'ar Ruach HaKodesh, not Sha'ar Gilgulim. Sha'ar Ruach HaKodesh. He writes over there, learning Gemara, the questions and the answers, and you don't understand it, and suddenly you break it and you understand it. Around you, there's klipot. By learning that, you break open the klipot. Do you hear that? The Ari HaKadosh says this. Rav Chaim Vital is me'id. You know what me'id is? What does it mean? Testifies. The Ari HaKadosh, when he used to learn Gemara, he used to learn it in 6 different new Pirushim and 1 according to the Sod. That was the Ari HaKadosh. The Ben Ish Chai has a Perush on Gemara. An old Agadot of the Gemara. He has a Perush called Ben Yoyada. The second thing that's written in Aramaic is what? The Zohar HaKadosh. Rabotai, if we would know the power of the Zohar HaKadosh, I have a book called Minchat Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda Ftaye. Once he was dealing with the book of Shem Rishayim Yirkav. I don't want to say the name in their grandmother's Yishro. Mashiach Sheker, one Mashiach Sheker, I don't want to say his name. I don't want to say his name. This Mashiach Sheker was inside a guy called Bechor, and Rabbi Yehuda Ftaye couldn't fix him. So he tells him, what can I do? You tell me what we should do to fix you. You know what he told him? Go to the mikveh every morning and read a page of Zohar a day. If it worked to clean the soul of a Mashiach Sheker, what can it do for our neshama that we're alive and well? I'm not from the Mekubalim. Rav Ovadia Yosef said, there's only one book you could learn, even though you don't understand it, you can make a siyum on it. What is that? The Zohar HaKadosh. If Rav Ovadia Yosef said such a thing, stamped, double stamp, chotam shebachotam. Bet Yosef. Rabotai, we cannot continue, it's late already. I want to tell you one thing. Shovavim is coming.
Next week.
The year is Tafshin Pei Aleph 5781. Gematria 781 is Gematria Shchinta. Shchinta, the Shchina, the God's divine presence. This year we gotta do a Shovavim Adushi. And first thing I'm gonna tell you, what's the first parasha of Shovavim? Shemot, Reshet Evot, Shnayim Mikra ve'achad Targum. Thank you very much. What aliyah you up to? Third one. Next thing, Ele Shemot Bnei Yisrael Habaim. Take the last 5 letters. What do you get? Tehillim. I know the rabbi of our family who lives in Eretz Israel. I know he says, and when Shovavim comes, he takes 30 minutes a day to read Tehillim. 30 minutes a day, and he finishes the Tehillim once a week. Once a week he finishes the Tehillim. Rav Mazuz, you know Rav Mazuz is Rosh Yeshivat Kiser Achayim. I once heard in the Shiur, he writes, if Am Yisrael, everybody in Am Yisrael would take half an hour a day to read Tehillim, the Geulah would have come long time ago. There is nothing more powerful than Tehillim. Why? I'll tell you a secret now. Tehillim, without the hey, Tehillim, because that's the way it was originally written. Tehillim has a numerical value 480. The wife of the Samech Mem is also the numerical value. Lamed Yud Taf, 480. When you read Tehillim, you have the power to destroy the wife of the Samech Mem. And what are we doing Shovavim for? For those sparks. Those sparks, who takes them? The wife of the Samech Mem, that angel, that female angel, that wife of the Leviathan, that the Hashem Yitbarach sliced it. And we're giving her life. And that's the reason why people can't find their bat zug. That's why people have problems in zugiyut. That's why people have problems with parnasa. That's why people have problems in Torah. And when you read Tehillim, you have the power to break it. 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. I read Tehillim after Shacharit. Every morning after I finish Shacharit, I have a small Tehillim, 5 chapters a day. 5 chapters a day. Well, how long does it take? 5 chapters. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, maybe the big ones. 6 minutes.
How come the ones that
You know why? I didn't make no neder. You know why? You know why I do it? Because I'm dedicated. When you dedicate yourself, you're also going to succeed. But if you're going to wait for somebody else to dedicate you, it's never going to happen. You need to awaken yourself. You need to do the itaruta diltata yourself. May Hashem be mezakeh otanu. To itaruta diltata. Be mezakeh otanu to be like this tzaddik right here. Ben Yosef Haimi Baghdad. The Ben Ish Chai HaKadosh. Hashem be mezakeh otanu לגדולה, לתורה, למצוות, לגאולה שלמה, לברכה והצלחה, לזיווגים הגונים, לבנים צדיקים, לפרנסה טובה, לרפואה שלמה, לישועות גדולות. ברוך אדוני לעולם. אמן ואמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות